Traveling Klatt. Traveling Klatt.
The Klatt.
Traveling Klatt.
Traveling Klatt.
Traveling Klatt.
Klatt.
The Traveling Klatt.
Traveling Klatt.
Traveling Klatt.
Traveling Klatt.
The Traveling Klatt.
Hey, the Traveling Klatt.
The Traveling Klatt.
Traveling Klatt.
The Traveling Klatt.
The Traveling Klatt.
Traveling Klatt.
Traveling Klatt.
I have never told anybody what Klatt means on this channel. At 100,000 subscribers, I'm going to tell you guys what Klatt means.
I hit 100,000 subscribers on the stream. Look at the stream's blowing up.
We did it. 100,000 subscribers. I thought I'd be ready to make this video, and I don't think I am. Almost a year ago, I told you guys that at 100,000 subscribers, I was going to tell you the meaning of Klatt. And as you can see by the insane amount of comments, it is one of the most asked questions on my channel. Every day, anytime a new subscriber comes across, they always want to know the meaning of Klatt. The meaning of Klatt is so deep and so rooted in who I am and my character and everything that I do on a day-to-day basis, but also it's one of the stupidest stories I think to ever exist. So there's a side of me that's like, when I tell you, you're gonna hate me, but also you'll really appreciate the story. Before we tell you the meaning of Klatt, it would probably make sense to open up this gift from YouTube. You've just done something that very few YouTube creators accomplish. You've had an astonishing 100,000 people subscribe to your channel. We know that numbers on YouTube can get really big, but we hope that you don't lose sight of the reality behind the 6-digit milestone. Each and every person who has subscribed to your channel has been touched by what you created. They were inspired, challenged, or entertained. You achieved this milestone with hard work, perseverance, and probably a healthy sense of humor too. What you've accomplished can't be taken away from you, and we'd like to recognize you and all your hard work with this Silver Creator Award, a small token of our esteem and respect. Believe us when we say that we can't wait to see what you do next. 1 million subscribers may seem a long way off right now, but you're closer than you think, and we're rooting for you. Congratulations, yours sincerely, Susan Wojcicki, CEO of YouTube. Here it is. I remember when I started this YouTube channel, I mean, the play button looked differently. It didn't even look like this back then. Presented to the Traveling Klatt for passing 100,000 subscribers. It was a totally different play button. And it feels surreal to have it. It really does. This is a weird moment. You busted chop for 5 years for a little metal plaque. All the sarcasm aside, this is amazing. I feel grateful. I feel incredible. I feel... There's no words to explain what it's like to have one of these. Thank you guys so much for this. I really appreciate it. Thank you to each and every single person who's subscribed to the channel so far. With all the dumb videos that we've made and all the really cool, powerful videos that we've made, it's all part of this. So thank you very much for that. Now I know what you've really come for, and that's to learn the meaning behind what is Klatt. What is the Traveling Klatt? Some of you guys have tried Google searching it, messaging me, messaging my friends. You guys have gone out of your way and it's turned into a sort of detective search for what is the meaning of Klatt. I actually chose a select few of you guys, some of the Klatts out there, some of my viewers, to tell them one-on-one the meaning of Klatt to get their reaction for this video. So before I tell you guys the story, we're gonna have to cover a lot of background before I tell you the true meaning of Klatt. I thought I would show you how some of you Klatts reacted to learning what the meaning of Klatt is. So here goes nothing. So this is Regina from Mexico City. This is Elaine from Chicago. This is Marilyn from New York City. Matt from the United Kingdom. Jay, he is from San Diego. This is Raquel and David from Brazil. So you don't know what Klatt is, assuming that you've been wondering.
No idea.
Do you have any guesses as to what Klatt is?
Like someone who likes to, explore the world.
Something like someone who's crazy.
I was always thinking that it was an acronym.
Offense, but then you change the N for the T because it's your name.
It's not a bad guess. You're wrong, but it's not a bad guess. But the true meaning of the word Klatt is a
Are you serious?
yeah.
2.5 years, and that's what it means?
What the hell?
It's not what you expect it to be. Trust me. But to tell you this story, we're gonna have to jump somewhere else. There was this huge trend on YouTube that was really popular a few years back. I think it was right around the time that I was starting, 5 years ago. It was called Draw My Life. I've always wanted to do one. I always envisioned when I told you guys this story that I would do it that way. So let's just do that. Let's go draw the meaning of Klatt.
So, welcome to Draw My Life Klatt Edition. Now, this is a bit of a cop-out because it's not exactly going to be an entire Draw My Life. I'm not going to be giving you guys every detail of my life up until this point, but more like glimpses through the windows of my life. And a side note, before we begin, I struggle really hard when it comes to drawing and writing in general, so I apologize in advance for how horrible my depictions of everything are. But let's begin. So my story begins sort of in between the two countries of the United States of America and the beautiful, wonderful country of Israel in the Middle East. My parents are citizens of Israel. They were born and raised there, and they immigrated to the United States before I was born. And so I was born in Miami in the USA, and we kind of lived bouncing across between Florida, Miami specifically, and Tel Aviv in Israel for a lot of my life. As a kid, I was absolutely obsessed with nature and animals, and more specifically, a movie franchise called Jurassic Park and the dinosaurs within them. I was obsessed with dinosaurs as a kid. It was one of my biggest loves. As I got older, things started to change a little bit with the things that I liked and didn't like. My dad used to work in an electronics store, and he used to bring home gadgets and cameras and stuff, so I fell in love with photography and videography as well. And that's my depiction of a camera, and those are hearts. Alright, so for the sake of simplicity and moving on with time, let's fast forward a little bit because we're going to have to breeze through a lot of details. So before YouTube ever officially came out, I actually used to take little cameras, little DVD camcorders, and I used to record videos with my friends, and I used to actually vlog my life back then. And everything was recorded to these little DVDs, and I would record little adventures and daily vlogs with all my friends from school, whether I was living in Israel or in Florida, and I would just make sure to record all these cool little memories that I had with my friends growing up. So, flash forward to the 8th grade, I had moved back recently from living in Israel for 3 years to the United States, and I had started going to a new school, and that's where I met a guy named Moshe, which many of you guys have probably seen on my YouTube channel before. He was kind of my first friend after moving back here, and he helped me a lot when it came to creating videos and just going on random little adventures as kids, but he was always a cool test dummy for video ideas that I had, and he was always open to either skateboarding or doing tricks or jumping off of a pool balcony or something. Anything that could get us in trouble / make a cool video, he was always up and down for. Also, at the time, I had gained quite a bit of weight, so I was a chubby boy, to say the least. I had also grown my hair out, so I had long hair, and I kind of just rocked that look for a little while. During the 8th grade, while I was making movies with friends from school and middle school, and Moshe specifically, I came up with the idea for a movie called Tal's Big Movie, which never existed, but it ended up turning into something I called Tal's Big Movie Productions, or TBM Productions for short. TBM Productions was basically my expression of creativity at that time. I would make fake little movie trailers with my friends from school, but most notably I actually got hired to do gigs for the Jewish community here in South Florida. I would do things like bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs and film and edit little really crappy videos for them on my camcorder, and it's kind of what supplied me with a sort of income growing up because I did a lot of little events. And that carried into high school, which was where we're jumping now, into the future. My early years of high school sucked. I absolutely hated 9th and 10th grade. I was jumping around from different schools, I homeschooled a little bit, and I kind of got a little depressed. At 11th grade, I was just coming back from a stint that I spent time doing homeschool in, and I was basically super depressed, and I had gained a lot of weight. It was actually the heaviest I've ever been at 250 pounds. And I had man boobs, and at this time I also developed really bad anxiety and panic attacks, and I was going through a sort of breakdown in my life and just not doing well. And I had really bad, raging acne all over my face. So with all the things that were going on with my body, and obviously being a teenager growing up in high school, it's not the easiest feeling in the world, and so I kind of isolated myself and became a little bit of an outcast in any school that I went to. I struggled a lot with social situations and having any sort of confidence when it came to making friends or talking to girls or anything like that in high school that a normal teenager can usually handle. That being said, during the 11th grade, I did move to a school where I had a pretty solid group of friends, and so I was able to kind of look on the sidelines and learn how to make some social interactions with teenagers. But a big part of high school is dating and relationships, and I was really bad at it and always felt really left out because everyone else was kind of moving forward with it. I felt like I was kind of stuck in life and I couldn't move forward and progress like all my other friends and peers were at school. No first kiss, no girlfriend, no really interactions with a lot of people. I just felt like I wasn't cool and didn't fit in. Until I came across an instrument called the ukulele. I found out about it on YouTube videos online, and I picked one up in a store one day and started learning how to play it. And I did that by watching YouTube videos, and it instantly started improving my mood. Day to day I would practice and play every day, and it turned me from really depressed to really happy over time. And it was one of the first steps in my life to really improving my outlook on the world in general. As I improved and started getting better at playing the ukulele, I used to bring it with me to school and play it for my friends in class. And I eventually met other people in school that played different instruments, and we sort of started a school band and played a bunch of instruments for people in school and even put on a show at the end of 11th grade. During this time, I started really coming out of my shell and gaining confidence that I was good at something and that I could create music and impress people with it. Unfortunately, that year ended on a bad note because I had a big falling out with a friend because of a girl that was in that music club, and things just ended up really bad and set that summer off onto a really bad note. And it was a very pivotal moment in my life that kind of set the precedent for what I do now. It was a whirlwind of emotions because it was my first time ever experiencing true heartbreak. My heart was broken for the first time because I had fallen for someone. Luckily, I had really incredible friends all around me, people like Moshe and other people that came along throughout that journey, and they really propped me up and started teaching me how to be happy. And they really guided me throughout the entire summer by training me to work out and putting my energy into positive things rather than sulking in the sadness. And I was able to turn into a happy boy rather than a sad boy, and actually clear up my acne and lose weight. And it was just a really pivotal moment in my life. Even though a lot of things were getting better, my heart was still sort of broken. I walked into the next year of school in 12th grade, which was my final year of high school, with a new set of confidence. I was 17 years old, I felt like I had done a lot, I had lost a lot of weight, and we were going to graduate in the class of 2014. I had dropped my body weight down to 180 pounds, I was fitting into a size small shirt at some point in that year, and I had a really cool group of supportive friends that were around me the entire time. And I was very excited to see what was going to happen this next year and this last year of my high school experience. And since things were going so right for me, I think the universe decided to add a woman into the mix, and I sort of started falling for another girl in my senior year class, and she was awesome. She was a new person that I'd never really met before, never really chatted even though we knew of each other, and I started experimenting with flirting and talking to somebody a little more romantically for the first time in my life. This is the point in the story where you realize that this is a love story. Yep, the story of Klatt is a love story, a weird one, but a love story indeed. So as the months progressed, me and this girl started getting a little bit closer, and it was my first experience ever really getting close to a girl. My friends started noticing this in school as well, and they were really happy for me because they knew all the stuff that I went through the summer before was really hard on me. And me starting to talk to a new girl and kind of meeting somebody new made them really happy for me, and I was excited to see where this was going to go. And I had a lot of affection, to say the least. This was my first time ever really flirting with a girl or talking to a girl in a romantic way, so I was sending a lot of love her way, and I can understand how that was a little scary for a 17-year-old girl. I was 17 at the time as well and didn't have much experience when it came to relationships, and so there was a lot of non-reciprocation going on. Nonetheless, the relationship continued, and I was actually able to take this girl out on my first date and have my first make-out session in a movie theater. Yeah, boy, got to make out with a girl in a movie theater. I did the whole chocolate and roses bit where I brought her chocolate and roses, and it was a fantastic experience. I remember being really self-conscious about how bad I was at making out, but I was happy nonetheless because it was my first time, and I was really excited for anything else that was going to happen in the future. But nothing happened. We were both 17, as I've mentioned a few times before, and she was done with it. She didn't want this relationship to continue, and I was way too pushy. And so she told me one day that she did not want to be together anymore, and that crushed me. That absolutely destroyed me. It took me back to a really dark place where I felt like I was a loser and I would never have a girlfriend, never be in a relationship. It brought me right back to all the emotions that I felt when I was really depressed at 250 pounds. Luckily, once again, I had a really great support system of friends that were there to prop me up, but this time it was bad, and it felt like it wasn't going to get better by just hanging out with friends. So I had to do something. I felt like I needed to escape. Now, if you've ever been in a situation like this, you know how hard the mental barriers are sometimes to get over. And I was struggling. The reason why I'm not drawing anymore and I'm not showing this to you on a whiteboard, because I actually have footage from everything that happened from this point on forward. You see, at the time before I conceptualized making a YouTube travel channel or anything like that, I was obsessed with filming everything in my life, whether I was doing that on my phone applications or on little GoPro cameras. And so with my yearning to escape, to leave, to get out of the situation that I was currently in, I decided there was no better way to remember those feelings or to remember the adventure that would come with than to film it on my GoPro. And that's exactly what I did. This is Josh. Growing up, Josh was always known as our crazy friend in our friend group. He's the guy whose house was always open for anyone to come over and there was always something going on, whether that was for the good or for the bad. And young 17-year-old Joshy was going through something very similar that I was going through. He had also fallen for a girl. And unfortunately for Josh, his relationship was pretty rocky as well. And so when something similar happened to him and I wanted to leave, he seemed like the obvious partner to go on an epic adventure with.
Look at this.
Damn. Is that a rat? It's a stick.
Oh, look, vultures.
Holy crap. Are those really vultures?
So here we were, just two way too overly attached, broken-hearted 17-year-old boys. Skipped school and drove in a straight line on the highway. We didn't have a destination in mind, no activities planned, just a desire to escape. To leave behind the feelings that were bothering us back home and just focus on something new for a little, something exciting. This trip, these moments you're seeing right now, are the birth of my travel story. Wide-eyed and naive with anything and everything exciting me along the way. This is the adventure that turned the cogs in my brain into the direction of travel. This is where I was infected with the travel bug. It all happened right here. Now, just for transparency's sake, I should probably come clean now and tell you we've actually already passed the point in the story where Klatt was born. The definition and meaning of the word Klatt in my life had already been established at this point, so we've kind of derailed a bit. But you know what? Since we're already in so deep, let's derail a little more, shall we? Josh and I were blown away. We had driven ourselves to Lake Okeechobee, the largest lake in the state of Florida. And honestly, for a good while during this trip, we succeeded in forgetting about the girl problems that were bothering us back home. During this trip, we found a hidden big cat sanctuary on the side of the road with tigers, lions, and a bunch of exotic animals in tiny cages. We found a decapitated pig's head surrounded by vultures while driving, and that freaked us out. We also got invited to a party in a really sketchy neighborhood by two girls we were sure wanted to get us killed. That night, we ended up sleeping in my car in a Walmart parking lot. Little did I know this would be the first of many nights like this. And when we woke up, we took all the pictures, all these video clips, and all the stories from this short but epic adventure, and we brought them home. We also brought back Klatt, whatever that is, and it started to spread.
You guys ready to embark on road trip number 7? Even not number 2?
Nonetheless, Josh and I fell into the same situation just a few months later, heartbroken over the same two girls. So guess what we did? Oh yeah, we did it again, but this time bigger and better, and with our pal Duncan. We hopped in the car and drove past Jacksonville, Florida, and then through Georgia, and finally to southern Alabama. Along the way, we pushed ourselves to explore, stopping on the side of the road to enter forests and exploring little towns and big cities whenever we could. But down in Alabama, we picked up a new friend. While visiting a flea market, we found a little rabbit for sale. This little rabbit was raised to be food. He was sold to us for $5 and thrown in a little yellow bag so we could cook him up later. I actually still have this bag. But we never wanted to cook him. We just wanted to save his life. So he joined our trip. And can you guess what we named him? Yep, we named him Klatt. We even made a badass auto-generated movie trailer about him. Quick, check this out. Now, some people believe this little rabbit is Klatt, and that he is the definition behind the traveling Klatt. And while Klatt was a part of the story, he was in no way the definition of what Klatt meant. He was just the embodiment of it, in rabbit form. And after all that, we drove back home. Now this time around, things were different. The passion and adventure of the story of us buying Klatt was spreading around quickly. People wanted in on this, and without giving away too much yet, Klatt kind of became a lifestyle. People talked like a Klatt, acted like a Klatt, called each other Klatt. I was straight up known around school as Klatt for a little while. And while for a lot of people around me, Klatt meant something arbitrary, something simple and funny, to me, it was my future. I saw something deeper in this dumb word. Even though I didn't always show it, somewhere deep down inside, I think I kind of knew that Klatt was going to be my destiny. And as my senior year of high school was coming to a close, the pressure of this girl I cared about and applying to colleges was getting the best of me. I know there's a chance that the girl from this video is watching, so I'll put it in a way that seems the least bit crazy. But 17-year-old Tall loved this girl. I admired her, and I felt so attached. Every action I took in life that year was dictated by her and how she felt about me. Some days I would hear she liked me, some days not so much. And because I wanted to impress her so much, I made sure to live by the ideals I had projected for her in my mind, so that if there was a chance, even the smallest of chances for us to be together again, I could make it work. I worked on my fitness, training constantly, and losing as much weight as I could to impress her. I became close friends with her friends in hopes to get her to like me more. During that same year, I got accepted to the University of Hawaii on the island of Oahu. I was on top of the world. This was my dream school. Hawaii for me was a bucket list destination, and just the thought of potentially living there for a year made me so happy. Unfortunately, the cost for me, due to my horrible test scores and out-of-state tuition, was about $20,000 for a semester. That would have put me about $100,000 in debt for the most basic degree I could get. But silly 17-year-old Tall seriously considered it. On the other hand, the chance of potentially being with this girl hindered my judgment, and I decided to stay in Florida. I told everyone it was because of the money, but it was really because of the girl. And to quickly sidetrack from this currently derailing video, here's a few words from 21-year-old Tall when he finally stepped foot on the beautiful island of Oahu and actually walked around what could have almost been his college campus.
So this is the University of Hawaii in Manoa. We've come here because this is kind of the origins of my story. I did not end up attending school here, but this spot specifically, I remember seeing this in the YouTube videos from their channel because I used to be so excited to come here, and it's super exciting to actually be standing here and seeing this place in person. It's cool to have come here full circle and kind of close the gap on where my story began.
Oh geez, that beard was so gross. Anyway, back to the story. None of this worked, and by the end of our senior year of high school, my relationship with this girl was the worst it ever was. We didn't talk, we didn't hang out, and I never even said goodbye to her. It's something I regret to this day. And I'll tell you why. This girl, she was the best thing that ever happened to me. The constant roller coaster that I perceived our relationship to be caused me to use travel as a form of escapism. And while that isn't why I travel nowadays, for the beginning of my travel journey, and for a good while, she was the reason I wanted to get away. And since then, my heart has fully healed, but she will forever have a place somewhere in my heart. Now, somewhere during that year, one of my closest friends, Jack, hatched out an idea for me. We had kind of fallen down the rabbit hole of these people that would travel and film their adventures to upload on YouTube. This was a new kind of genre emerging on YouTube. It was the birth and the era of travel vloggers. And And at one of my lowest points that year, Jack convinced me that I should take a crack at it. Put myself out there online, show people what I'm capable of when it comes to traveling, and experience the world via a lens on a camera. And that's exactly what I tried to do. I only had a month of high school left, and with just community college waiting for me at the end of summer and nothing planned in between, I could retrospectively look at how amazing and formative my last year in high school was. But it did kind of damage me emotionally, and I knew what I needed to do was get away. Far away. Farther than I had ever traveled before. Farther than anything I could have really imagined at that point in my life. I knew that this time the fixing would not come from just driving for an hour. It needed to be somewhere that I could really escape. And so off I went, on my biggest adventure yet, to a place I've only ever dreamed of, a place I've seen in movies and TV shows, a place that my 17-year-old brain could not comprehend I could actually go and visit. It was the single most amazing place that I had ever been to. Africa. I uploaded the adventures for the world to see, and instantly people asked what Klatt meant. For years, 5 full years, with over 15 million people, 40 countries, and hundreds of cities that have been a part of the goofiest and least travel vlogger-esque looking travel channel on YouTube. We have been around the world, circled it up and down, and the question inevitably always comes back around. What is Klatt?
Clyde, listen to that.
Okay, what?
I'm going to the doctorate, right? And he's telling me I have this problem with my front head when I'm touching it, it does like that.
Oh, crap shit. You and I
damn.
must have been drinking out of the same cup, you know,
did.
because when I have the same problem with a lady, she goes to touch the testicles and it makes a sound like this. With a lady, she goes to touch the testicles, she goes to touch the testicles, she goes to touch the testicles, 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 testicles.
Clyde, listen to that. I'm going to the doctorate, right? And he's telling me I have this problem with my front head when I'm touching it, it does like that.
Oh, crap shit. You and I must have been drinking out of the same cup, you know, because when I have the same problem with a lady, she goes to touch the testicles and it makes a sound like this.
Oh, that is sounding like the same sound of my front head, like this.
Oh, crap, same as your front head, like this.
You mean like this?
Yes.
Let me tell you about American Idiot.
2 dumb teenagers that were sad about their girl problems took a road trip to try to make themselves feel happier. During that trip, they played a video by one of the early internet gods called Group X. That video is called American Idiot, and at some point in that video, the word testiclites is said. We took that word and the weird accent it was said in and devolved it into the phrase Klatt. I was a Klatt, he was a Klatt. There were baby Klatts and old Klatts, small Klatts and large Klatts, but it didn't change the fact that most people had no idea that Klatt really just meant testicle. I know how you feel right now. Trust me, I do. I've done this before, but try to sit through just a little more of this. So yeah, the meaning of Klatt might be as simple as a part of the male reproductive system. And yeah, that might be a little dumb. Granted, I was 17 years old when I came up with the name for this YouTube channel. But the way I see it, those 2 dumb, sad boys took a trip because of 2 girls. And that trip turned into another, and another, and another. And then people started following that trip. Over 100,000 of them. And 15 million people watched over 65 million minutes of those trips happening. And some of them were inspired to take a trip of their own, to explore something new, to taste something strange. Being a Klatt is more than just what's down there. It's what's in here. And it's what all you put into the world when you recognize yourself as one.